Did you know that the secret to longevity is actually really simple? But maybe it's not so easy. We are here today on the Deb Show, and we are finishing up a three-part series on longevity. And it comes from our friends, some experts at the Vegan Women's Summit that I went to last week. And so today we are going to wrap it up with what can you do yourself to incorporate some of the longevity secrets into your lifestyle. So it's all about setting yourself up to win and keeping it simple. And then the third thing is having purpose. So if you can manage those three things, then you are on the road to maybe improving your longevity. And I know we all would like that. And it's not just about being older and living a longer life, it's about living a healthy, vibrant, thriving life, not just a life. All right. So let us get going on I'm going to cover a little bit about what we talked about last week or the last two. This is part three. So I'll go over some of what we've learned on longevity and we'll wrap it up with what can you do? All right. So again, this is from the Vegan Women's Summit that I attended last week. And it was a panel on the quest for longevity with four experts. Dr. Melissa Sunderman is a board certified internal medicine and lifestyle medicine physician. And she is all big on the outdoors. Dr. Janelle Gordon is also a board certified physician. She does family, obesity, lifestyle medicine, and also she is a certified culinary coach. Dr. Robin Tiger is also a medical doctor, board certified lifestyle medicine. And her tagline is that she is the stress-free MD. And you can easily follow any of these three doctors online. We also have Abigail Coleman, and she is the CEO of the Blue Zone Kitchen. So she was there talking on the studies and things that we have learned from the blue zones. All right. And so here is a nice picture of the ladies at the summit. I also saw them speak last year at the summit that was in New York. And it's very interesting that they all learned about the value of plant-based lifestyle from their patients. So it was interesting that way. And here's a quote that I have talked about, but they have also talked about themselves on Eat Food, Not Too Much, Mostly Plants by Michael Pollan. So you'll probably get used to me saying that. And I'm coming up with my own tagline, eat real food, mostly plants. All right. So we're doing a bit of a review on longevity, and we will be wrapping it up as well. So when it comes to longevity, getting to the root of our illness and chronic disease, plants and a plant-based lifestyle is a huge component of it. And when we talked first about brain health because that's important for longevity. And there is an epidemic of Alzheimer's disease that continues to grow. And for me, the shocking part is that women are actually at a higher risk for Alzheimer's and also dementia, because one, we live a little longer than men on average, and also there's also genetic and hormonal factors. So it's really important to be mindful of that. And lifestyle factors play a huge role in our brain health. That has been studied. There's lots of scientific evidence on that. And here's the great thing, that plant forward, plant rich lifestyle can reduce your risk of dementia by 53%, which is very significant in my book. And then we, Abigail talked about the blue zones, and there were really four commonalities in the different blue zones that have been identified. There is a sense of belonging. There is also community. They engage in natural movement, and they eat wisely. And when we talk about eating wisely, it's largely plant based, whole food diet. And most of the calories come from beans, whole grains, greens, tubers, and nuts. And natural movement, it's okay to go to the gym, but you don't have to. Natural movement is things like getting up and down off the floor, um, taking a walk, gardening. There's lots of ways that we can move naturally without having to go to the gym. But that doesn't mean that it's not okay to go to the gym. If that's the way that you want to exercise, that's fine. The same thing, like, I mean, yoga is another great option. And yoga can be anything from very mindful and stretching to power yoga. So there's a whole bunch of different forms of yoga that you can do. And the number one ingredient, I like this one. The number one ingredient to a longevity diet is taste. And if it doesn't taste good, people are not going to be willing to eat it for 100 years as they become a centenarian. So it has to taste good. And there is a big urban legend myth out there that vegan food tastes like cardboard. And I'm here to say, it can if you don't prepare it right, but there is no reason it has to taste like cardboard. You can have delicious meals. And I am pretty big on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and it's something that I am following myself now, trying to not eliminate all processed foods, but reduce them so they're not the biggest part of my diet. But if you're doing that, that means that you need to get out your chef's hat and do some cooking. And so for people who are not big on cooking, there are some alternatives that are starting to come out, that you can get that are on the process side that aren't ultra processed. And if you're in the US, you can check out the Blue Zone Kitchen frozen entrees. They have 4 that they've developed. I have not looked into what the ingredients are or anything personally, but I do know that given that they are big on the whole health with the blue zones, that they should be following some of the principles, or they would be following the principles of the blue zone diet. And definitely I tried one, just a little tiny bite, and it definitely did taste good. But it's something that if you're not really interested in cooking or you want other alternatives, this might be one that you might want to pursue. I think they're pretty new, coming out now, so I'm not sure exactly where you can get them. But I just thought I would mention that because it did come up in our talk. We also talked about community. And it's really important to have a sense of belonging, purpose, and that people actually care for people. And this came up a lot in the talk, and we're going to talk more about it as we continue. Genetics is another thing that we talked about, and I know, a lot of times we'll say it's in our genes, but 10 to 20% of of diseases that actually come to be developed or come to fruition, which we don't want, is only a 10 to 20% factor of developing disease because of your genetics. The real reason for most is our epigenetics, which basically is our lifestyle and our lifestyle factors. They play a larger role in diseases that develop, like dementia, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, et cetera, cancer as well, et cetera, et cetera. And so it does make sense, because a lot of times, just kind of looking at it, my lifestyle kind of now has because of the way things are now, has kind of diverted from what I grew up with, but I still, you still kind of can hang on to some of those things that you grew up with. And those things are passed on from generation to generation as well. What kind of foods that you like or you eat and what you've been introduced to comes from not your genetics, but your epigenetics. And yes, you can change them, but I think our first starting point as kids is our lifestyle comes from what we grew up with our parents. Stress is a big one as well. Chronic stress. So there's three types of stress, but the one that's not good for us is the chronic stress. And that is the direct cause of most chronic illness in the world. So you can link stress to high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, dementia, and cancer progression and growth. And what happens as we age, we have telomeres, which are protective ends of our chromosomes. Those will shorten, but stress actually acts to shorten them as well. And I say the good news is that we can actually reverse the impacts of stress by de-stressing our lives. So that's the good news. And so I wanted to finish this off today with, what can we do now? And so all of our experts had a chance to say what they felt we could do and what was important. And so there's maybe a little bit of repetition by what they said. And it's things that you probably have heard before, but it's always good to hear them again. So the first one, social interaction, is so important. And so they looked at the trends in the blue zones and what they were doing. And so the first thing on social interaction is communal dining. So, people like get together to eat. And I think I mentioned this yesterday. I mean, my family, we used to sit at the kitchen table to eat not all of our meals, but our dinner, when we had to wait till my dad got home from work to eat, which sometimes, especially in the summer, could be a little late, but we always waited and ate as a family. And that's something that, we kind of move away from. I know when I'm eating I'll eat with my kids still, but a lot of times I think of eating communal as being going out for dinner, into a restaurant or something. But eating communal is good if you can. Then the healthiest, longest lived people spend about 5 hours a day in social interaction. And so then the question that came up is like, wow, how do you fit that into your calendar? Because, we are busy people. A lot of us are very busy with other things and things that we're doing. And so really the advice that the panel was giving was all about thinking about it not on having to do this every day, but thinking about how you can kind of adapt your environment and what how you do things kind of in general, so that you are not having to say, "Oh yeah, I need to spend 5 hours today in social interaction," because that's probably not a best way to do it. But you can kind of set up things in the way you do things in general so that you can try to interact more with people. And I know, like when I was working my corporate job, I was interacting with people a lot, especially when we were in the office. When we went at COVID and we were working from home, then you there was definitely much more feeling of isolation, because we weren't actually getting, you only talk to somebody if you had to for some work thing. You didn't see people at the water cooler or when you're getting your coffee and tea and stuff like that. And we used to also do lunches together as well. So, when you're working from home, you may have to be a little more inventive of how you do your social interaction. But you can also, I'm gonna say I've decided I was pretty judgy on something that I'm going to say that I think maybe I'll change my mind now. But one thing is, is setting up your environment to interact with people you care about. Um, Kathy, is it okay if I say something? This is just an easy thing that Kathy was telling us yesterday. Her and her brother uh, have this little contest that they do every day with Wordle. And, that's one way to just really keep that social interaction going. And it's pretty easy. And not only are you interacting with your brother and your family, you're interacting, you're challenging your brain too. So, that would be an easy thing that you can do. You can pick up the phone and talk to people. And one thing was, if you're going to the store, um, you could maybe think about walking or putting your car further away so you get a little bit of movement. But also, you could talk to a colleague or friend. And this is where my judgment, I'm changing that, because I used to, if I saw people that were on their cell phone while they're at the grocery store chit chatting away to their friends and all this stuff while they're going, I thought that was like, can you not find a better time to talk to your friends? But maybe that's a way to do it, is to go to the store and be on the phone or doing something. You're kind of doing two things at once. And with our busy lives, that may be the way that you have to do it, is to actually chit chat with your friends while you're at the grocery store or whatever. I know I have a friend that calls me. I love it. She calls me when she is in her car on a long car ride, or she's in traffic. And so we have a good chat. And usually she sits in her driveway for about half an hour when she gets home, as we finish our chat. And so I love it that she calls me. So, kind of look at you, not just making this a day to day, but kind of fitting it into your environment and how you would do things, kind of going forward, and make it part of your habits, I think is really what they're saying. With our regard to our food choices, and they did spend a lot more time on lifestyle things than on the food. The doctors actually said at one point, well, they kind of take the plant-based as being a given. That is like a given. But set up your environment to win, and make making healthy choices the easy choice. And so how can you do that? Well, the first thing you can do is clean the junk food out of your pantry. Go through your pantry and clean out the stuff that you don't need. Because if it's not in your house and you have to go to the store to buy it, then the chances are you might just say, well, no, I'm not going to have it. And I know for me, if there's stuff in the house, I have certain things that I know are a non-negotiable. I do not eat them because I know myself and stuff. So the things that I've done that with are things like potato chips, any sugary treat or anything like that. I have a hard no on those, and um, I keep that hard no because I know it's a slippery slope. If I have them, because those have an addiction to them, and if I have them, it's a slippery slope to just having them, and I do not want to go through having to get them out of my life again. They're not something that I eat, and I don't want to have to address that again. So those are hard no's for me. But anything else that might be in the house, if it's there and I know it's there, it's calling to me until I eat it. So the best thing for me is not to have it in the house at all. And so you got to need. How can you make your environment easier for your health and your food choices? And also, there's the role. This is the kind of the role of your purpose and meaningful work. And so this is one. What is your purpose? Why are you here? And I think that's important to make sure you know and keep on top of mind. And it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing. It's just what gets me out of bed each day, and really keep that kind of top of mind and close to you. And, you know, they're learning from the blue zones that keep it simple. It doesn't have to be something complicated. And so one of the doctors said that, what she does is she has sticky notes that she uses to remind her of things and inspire her. And I know, if you know the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, I know from listening to him that he did the same thing. He would have sticky notes around to remind him of things, to be mindful of things, and also be inspired. So he said, like, even he had something on his steering wheel of his car or on his dashboard. He had a little sticky note that would remind him to stay calm when he's in traffic. so, so put it on your bathroom mirror, wherever you are. I have a bunch of sticky notes that are right above my desk that I will lean into every so often. And also, one thing, you could move them around a bit and change them up, because sometimes if they're there all the time, you might forget and you don't see them anymore because they're just part of the background. The other thing is to look at your environment, your children, the people you work with, and the people that you interact with. Create meaning within that, and don't feel like it has to be on a grand scale. But just part of that, what do you think I'm going to say next? Part of that is just kind of being mindful about the people in your life and having some gratitude for them and appreciation as well. Very simple things. And we'll end it up on, come from a place of love, gratitude, and kindness, and have kindness for and love for humans, also other animals, and our planet as well. Here's one that I think that we may struggle with sometimes, is showing up authentically. Be yourself, because I know a lot of times it's we show up the way we think other people want us to show up, and then also sink into who you are, and just be your natural self. So we're not talking about a whole bunch of hard thing. Well, maybe it is hard to do. I know, the authenticity is sometimes hard for people to do. But I've been learning more about myself and what is my authentic self. And I actually didn't even realize this, but one of the things, the way that I act, I thought maybe I'm not being authentic. But I think for me, one of the most important things is benevolence. And so a lot of times I'm showing up, and maybe I'm not voicing a strong opinion on something, but part of that is the love and caring for the other people that are there. And so now, having kind of recognized that and done the work on myself, now I feel good that, yeah, I am showing up authentically, even though I thought maybe by not, not by sometimes keeping things to myself, I was not being authentic, but I am. And so what am I saying? Some of that is doing the work and really kind of digging into who you are. And again, self-love, and just working through personal growth, whatever way that is for you, will help bring you to more love and gratitude and kindness, I hope. Maybe not maybe not so hard, maybe so hard, but that is some of the keys to longevity. So keep it simple, not always easy, but it's simple stuff. And, really getting back to some of the basics in life will help us. Maybe that gets rid of some of the stress too, because if you are in a place of love, you're not going to be stressed out. You're going to be in a different place. All right. Any questions on that little wrap up on longevity or comments for sure? Yay,
So,
Kathy.
so my comment is, I think that there's something about human beings that if it's simple and it's inexpensive, people don't value it. And let me give you an example. So when my mom would be doing rehab, would she be doing rehab exercises, like the rehab person would come to the house, my mom couldn't believe that doing these really basic things would get her walking again. It was just, and it's the exercises were so simple, or that these, putting your right heel touching your left toe and just standing like that for a couple of seconds a day could improve your balance. It was weird to watch her. And even as it was happening and she was doing the exercises, she still didn't believe that it would work. So I think that's a challenge that I think you brought up, that everyone has to just realize it really can be simple. Don't overthink it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do like to overthink things. That's a good observation for sure. We do like to overthink it because I find that even with the plant-based stuff,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. But I also think it's maybe feels foreign to us, and if it feels
Yeah.
foreign, the other one that I find interesting, and this is one that from the personal growth that I did, is that when people are confused, then they become overwhelmed, then that leads to inaction. So
Yeah.
uh, maybe that's part of it, because the other part of it is there is so much out there and so many varying opinions on things, that you know we and there are lots of people who are you know um, giving us information on all these, whatever their programs and stuff like that. I mean, I have my programs too, right? um, but the other thing I find, and this is for me as well, is sometimes you know what to do and you just don't do it. And sometimes it's not because I would say that you don't have enough discipline or whatever, but I think sometimes we just need that program or whatever it is for the accountability too, and to just get us going, because we can be it can be hard to push the needle sometimes to get going. And yeah, I mean, if it seems simple, our minds overthink things too, for
Mhm.
sure. We have to find balance between our, this our inner world of us and this mind here that is always complicating things. But it's a good
Mhm.
observation. I like it. Very good. And so, as we try to be simple and keep things simple, we will be back tomorrow to talk more about the Vegan Women's Summit and what I learned. And I think tomorrow we will talk a bit about processed foods. And it's going to be a twist that you don't expect. So, we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Bye for now.